This old, dark, scratch 10 yen coin from Japan looks like something you'd toss in a junk drawer, but one rare Showa-era piece sold for the price of a brand new car. And here's the scary part, most people would never notice the difference. First coin, that plain, brand 1951 Japanese 10 yen coin sitting in a drawer right now might look like nothing more than old foreign change, but in the right condition, the right version has sold for thousands of dollars, and most people would never think twice before spending it. The 1951 10 yen from Japan was struck during the Showa era under Emperor Hirohito, at a time when Japan was still rebuilding after World War II. Coins from this period were heavily used. They were carried in pockets, dropped on concrete, stored in humid homes, and often left to darken naturally. Because of that, nearly every surviving piece today looks worn, dull, and sometimes even slightly damaged. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous to overlook. At first glance, the 1951 10 yen is a simple copper coin featuring the famous Byodo in Phoenix Hall on the reverse. If you've ever visited Kyoto, or even seen photos, you'll recognize the elegant temple building with its sweeping roofline. On the front, you'll see large Japanese characters and the year written in the Showa calendar system. For 1951, you'll find Showa 26 on the coin. Most collectors outside Japan don't even realize that Showa 26 equals 1951. And that confusion alone causes people to ignore valuable examples. Now here's where things get interesting. The 1951 issue was the very first year this modern 10 yen design was introduced. First-year coins always carry extra attention in the collector market. It's the beginning of a design series that would run for decades. And when you combine first year of issue with post-war history and heavy circulation, you get something collectors love: scarcity and high grade. Millions were minted, but very few survived in pristine condition. Most 1951 10 yen coins you'll see today are dark chocolate brown. That's normal. They were struck in copper, and copper tones over time. But if you ever come across one that still has original reddish luster, almost like a shiny new penny, that's your first major clue. That red color can mean the coin was barely handled. And here's the kicker: a 1951 10 yen coin graded in high mint state condition, especially with original red copper surfaces, has sold for well over $1,000. Some certified examples have crossed into several thousand depending on eye appeal and preservation. Let that sink in. A coin originally worth just 10 yen, less than a dime in US currency, turning into four figures simply because it survived untouched. So how can someone at home spot a valuable one without being an expert? Start with the surfaces. Tilt the coin under light. If it still flashes with bright copper shine instead of dull brown, that's a strong sign. Look closely at the high points of the design, especially the roof lines of the Phoenix Hall. If those lines are sharp and not flattened, you may have a minimally circulated coin. Next, check for strong detail in the water lines beneath the building. Many worn examples lose that fine detail quickly. A crisp, sharp appearance is what collectors pay for. Also pay attention to spots and corrosion. Ironically, sometimes what looks like dirt might just be natural toning, and natural toning is fine. But green corrosion or pitting can lower value. A coin that simply looks dark but smooth is far better than one that looks cleaned or polished. And here's an important warning for your audience: never clean these coins. Because many people see a dark 1951 10 yen and think, if I polish it, it'll look new. That single mistake can destroy most of the coin's collector value instantly. Collectors prefer original surfaces, even if they are dark. Now let's talk about another hidden factor. Early strikes of the 1951 issue are known for stronger details compared to later worn dies. Subtle differences in strike sharpness can dramatically affect price. While that might sound technical, here's the simple version: if everything looks crisp and bold instead of soft and mushy, that's good. There are also slight variations in rim thickness and strike quality that specialists watch for. Most casual collectors miss them entirely. That's why some coins that look normal end up in auctions surprising everyone. And don't forget condition rarity. Because these coins were used heavily in the 1950s, finding one that somehow sat untouched in a bank roll, drawer, or collection for decades is uncommon. That's why high-grade survivors command such strong premiums today. Imagine a US collector in the 1950s bringing home a handful of Japanese coins as souvenirs and tucking them away. Decades later, one of those coins, still red, still sharp, could quietly be worth more than an entire jar of common silver coins. That's the kind of hidden value we're talking about. Another detail that makes the 1951 special is its historical context. Japan was under Allied occupation until 1952. This coin represents the early rebuilding years of modern Japan. That historical significance adds another layer of collector interest, especially among international buyers. And when you combine history, first-year status, strong eye appeal, and rarity in top grade, you get serious demand. Now here's something your viewers need to understand clearly: most 1951 10-yen coins are still only worth a few dollars in circulated condition. So we're not telling everyone to retire off pocket change. But the small percentage that survived in exceptional shape, that's where the big money hides. And the scary part is that those high-grade coins often don't scream valuable. They just look slightly better than the rest. A little brighter. A little sharper. A little more detailed. That's it. No dramatic error. No missing design. No obvious mistake. Just preservation. And that's why older collectors love this hunt. It rewards patience and attention. It's not about luck, it's about noticing the small differences others ignore. If someone watching this video has a 1951 10-yen tucked away from travel, inherited collections, or old coin jars, tonight might be the night to pull it out and examine it carefully under good lighting. Look for that red shine. Look for crisp lines. Look for smooth, untouched surfaces. Because what appears to be an ordinary foreign coin could actually be a four-figure sleeper. And once collectors realize what they have, those top examples disappear quickly into certified holders and long-term collections. So that dirty, brown, slightly scratched 1951 10-yen coin you almost dismissed. Next coin, that dull, brown 1971 Japanese 10-yen coin sitting in a bowl of foreign change might look like it's barely worth a few cents, but in the right condition, the right example has shocked collectors by selling for hundreds, and in rare cases, over $1,000. And almost nobody checks them. By 1971, Japan was deep into the Showa era under Emperor Hirohito. The country was booming economically, vending machines were everywhere, and 10-yen coins were constantly changing hands. They were used daily for train fares, snacks, and phone calls. In other words, they were handled hard. Which is exactly why high-grade survivors are so difficult to find today. Just like the earlier issues, the 1971 10-yen features the elegant Byodo in Phoenix Hall on the reverse and Japanese characters on the front, with the year written in the Showa calendar. For 1971, you'll see Showa 46 on the coin. That small detail is important. Many American collectors don't recognize Showa dating. So they glance at the coin, don't see 1971 in English numbers, and assume it's just common foreign change. That misunderstanding alone causes valuable examples to slip through unnoticed. Now here's the twist. 1971 had a relatively high mintage compared to some earlier years. Millions were produced. So you might assume there's nothing special here. But condition changes everything. Because while millions were made, nearly all of them were heavily circulated. Copper coins from this era darken quickly. They turn chocolate brown, sometimes almost black. They pick up small scratches, rim dings, and wear on the high points of the temple roof. Most 1971 coins today look tired. And that's why a sharply preserved one stands out like a diamond in gravel. If you ever come across a 1971 10-yen that still has bright reddish copper luster, almost like a freshly minted penny, you need to slow down and look closer. That red color is your first clue. Collectors pay strong premiums for original, red, examples, especially when certified in high mint state grades. A coin graded MS66 or higher with full original red surfaces can command prices that surprise most people who think it's just a 10-yen coin. Now let's talk about what to look for in simple terms. First, check the roof lines of the Phoenix Hall. The lines should look sharp and squared, not rounded or flattened. Worn coins lose that crispness quickly. Second, examine the water lines beneath the building. They should be clearly defined and separated. If they look blurred together, that usually means circulation wear. Third, tilt the coin under strong light. Does it flash? Does it have cartwheel luster, that spinning shine effect when you rotate it? Or does it just sit there looking dull and lifeless? Luster equals potential. Dullness usually equals circulation. But here's something even more interesting about 1971. During periods of high production, dies wear out faster. That can result in weaker strikes late in the production run. Some 1971 coins show softer details because the dies were worn. Collectors prefer coins with strong, bold strikes. So if you compare two 1971 coins side by side, and one looks noticeably sharper and more detailed, that sharper coin could be worth dramatically more in the marketplace. And remember, we're not talking about obvious damage or strange errors. We're talking about subtle quality differences. That's what makes this hunt exciting. Another factor that can drive value is eye appeal. Even among mint state coins, some have distracting spots, fingerprints, or carbon marks. Others are clean and smooth. That difference can mean hundreds of dollars in auction results. Now here's the mistake many people make. They find a bright 1971 coin and decide to improve it by polishing it. The moment you clean or polish copper, you create unnatural shine and tiny hairline scratches. To a trained collector, that damage is obvious. And once cleaned, the coin can lose most of its premium value. Original surfaces are everything. Even if the coin is toned a deep brown, if the surfaces are smooth and untouched, collectors prefer that over a shiny cleaned piece. There have also been select high-grade 1971 examples certified by major grading services that brought surprisingly strong prices simply because so few survived at that level. It's not that the date is rare overall, it's rare in exceptional condition. And that's a theme your viewers need to understand. Common date plus rare condition equals hidden value. Imagine someone traveling to Japan in the early 1970s, bringing home a small handful of coins, and dropping them into a desk drawer for 50 years. Those coins never entered circulation again. They sat quietly, protected from wear. Today, one of those untouched 1971 coins could quietly grade at the top of the population reports. That's how ordinary pocket change becomes a serious collector piece. And because the 10-yen coin design stayed the same for decades, most people assume they are all interchangeable. They aren't. Collectors track specific years, strike quality, luster levels, and preservation. A 1971 that checks all those boxes can surprise you. So if you or someone you know has a jar of old Japanese coins from travel, military service, or inherited collections, don't ignore the 1971. Next coin, that dark, ordinary-looking 1985 Japanese 10-yen coin sitting in a travel keepsake box might look like it's worth less than a cup of coffee, but in pristine condition. Some examples have stunned collectors by selling for amounts that feel completely out of proportion for such a small copper coin. And here's why almost nobody sees it coming. By 1985, Japan was at the height of its economic boom. The Showa-era was still in full swing under Emperor Hirohito, and 10-yen coins were everywhere. They rattled in vending machines, train stations, grocery stores, and arcades. These coins weren't saved, they were used. Hard. The date you're looking for on this one isn't written as 1985. Instead, you'll see Showa 60 in Japanese characters. That small detail alone causes many American collectors to overlook it. If you don't recognize Showa dating, you might never realize you're holding a mid-1980s issue. And most people assume 1980s coins can't possibly be valuable. That assumption is exactly what creates opportunity. Because while millions of 1985 10-yen coins were produced, nearly all of them went straight into circulation. And copper coins from this era tone quickly. They darken, they spot, they pick up tiny scratches from years of use. Finding one today that looks truly untouched is surprisingly difficult. When you do find one, it stands out immediately. Here's what to look for in simple, practical terms. First, check the color. A typical circulated 1985 will be deep brown or even slightly blackened from oxidation. That's normal. But if you see one that still carries strong reddish-orange copper luster, almost like a brand new penny, that's your first major clue. That red color means minimal handling. Second, examine the Phoenix Hall on the reverse. The roof lines should appear sharp and squared. The small details in the structure should look crisp, not softened. Pay close attention to the water lines beneath the building. On worn coins, those lines blur together. On high-grade coins, they are clearly separated and sharp. Third, tilt the coin under direct light. Does it flash? Does the shine move in a circular pattern as you rotate it? That spinning, cartwheel effect is a sign of original mint luster. If the coin looks flat and lifeless, it has likely seen circulation. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because 1985 was a high production year, most surviving coins have contact marks. When coins are minted, they are dumped into large bins and transported in bulk. They bump into each other, creating small nicks and scratches. The cleaner the surfaces, the rarer the coin becomes in top condition. A truly clean 1985 10 yen with minimal marks is much harder to find than people think. And when examples are graded at the very top levels, especially with full original red surfaces, they can command impressive premiums in the collector market. It's not common date rarity. It's condition rarity. That's the key phrase your viewers need to remember. Condition rarity. When nearly everyone spent these coins without a second thought, hardly anyone saved them in pristine condition. Now let's talk about a mistake that destroys value instantly. Cleaning. Many people see a dark 1985 10 yen and think they can improve it by polishing it. But once you polish copper, you remove the original surface. Under magnification, cleaning leaves fine hairline scratches and unnatural shine. To experienced collectors, that damage is obvious. And once cleaned, a coin that might have been worth a premium becomes just another damaged piece. Original surfaces matter more than brightness. Even a dark brown coin can carry value if it's smooth, untouched, and sharply detailed. Collectors prefer originality over artificial shine every single time. Another subtle factor to watch for is strike quality. Not every coin leaves the mint with the same sharpness. Some are struck slightly weaker, especially if dies are wearing down. If you compare two 1985 coins and one looks noticeably sharper and bolder, that sharper coin is the one collectors want. And because the design remained consistent for decades, most people assume all 10 yen coins are interchangeable. They are not. Advanced collectors track population reports and highest graded examples. When only a tiny number exist at the very top grade, prices can jump quickly. Imagine someone who traveled to Japan in 1985 during the economic boom. Maybe they brought home a small handful of coins and tossed them into a drawer. Those coins never re-entered circulation. They sat untouched for 40 years. Today, one of those untouched coins could grade at the highest certified levels. That's how ordinary travel souvenirs quietly turn into valuable collectibles. And here's what makes 1985 especially interesting: because it feels modern, people are even less likely to check it carefully. A 1951 coin at least looks old. But 1985? That feels recent. That psychological bias causes people to dismiss it instantly. And that's where hidden value lives. So if you're searching through foreign change, estate collections, or inherited travel keepsakes, don't skip the 1985. Look for Showa 60. Check the color. Check the sharpness. Check for original luster. If it looks unusually bright and crisp compared to others, slow down. Because while most 1985 10 yen coins are worth only face value, the top condition survivors can bring surprisingly strong money, far beyond what anyone expects from a small copper coin made in the 1980s. Next coin. That tiny, ordinary-looking 10 yen coin dated 1926 or 1989 might look like nothing more than foreign pocket change, but those 2 years marked the beginning and the end of an entire era in Japan, and certain examples have quietly become some of the most sought-after sleepers in the whole series. And here's the part almost nobody realizes. Both 1926 and 1989 are transition years. They represent the first and last year of the Showa era under Emperor Hirohito. That alone makes collectors pay attention. Let's start with 1926. On a Showa coin, the year isn't written in Western numbers. Instead, it uses the emperor's reign year. Showa 1 equals 1926. So if you ever see a coin marked Showa 1, you're holding the very first year of that imperial era. Now here's where things get powerful. First-year coins always carry historical weight. They represent a new chapter. A new reign. A new period in history. Collectors worldwide, including serious US numismatists, love first-year issues. But here's the catch. In 1926, the 10 yen coin design was completely different from the modern Byodo in Phoenix Hall version most people recognize. The early Showa-era 10 yen coins were struck in silver, not copper. They feature a more traditional imperial Japanese design with ornate elements that look dramatically different from the later temple design. And because they are silver, many were melted during wartime metal shortages. That means surviving examples, especially in strong condition, are far scarcer than people assume. Now imagine someone finding a small, old Japanese silver coin dated Showa 1, not even realizing that means 1926, the first year of Hirohito's reign. To the untrained eye, it's just an old foreign coin. But to a collector, it's a historical marker. High-grade 1926 10 yen coins have brought strong prices at auction, particularly when the details are sharp and the surfaces remain original. Here's what to look for in simple terms. First, confirm the year. Look for Showa 1. That 1 is everything. Second, check the detail. On older silver coins, the high points wear down first. If the design elements look bold and not flattened, that's a good sign. Third, look at the surface. Natural silver toning is okay, even desirable. But harsh cleaning can slash value instantly. If it looks unnaturally bright and mirror-like with fine scratches, it may have been polished. Original surfaces win every time. Now let's jump forward more than 60 years to 1989. This is where things get fascinating. Emperor Hirohito passed away in January 1989. That means 1989 was both the final year of the Showa era and the beginning of the Heisei era under Emperor Akihito. Coins dated Showa 64 exist only for the first few days of January 1989. Think about that. Showa 64 lasted just 1 week. That makes Showa 64 coins incredibly short-lived issues. Now, the 10 yen coin dated Showa 64 is not impossibly rare overall, but compared to surrounding years, production was limited to those few days. That gives it strong collector interest. When you look at the coin, you won't see 1989. You'll see Showa 64. That's the key. Most people outside Japan have no idea what that means. But to collectors, Showa 64 represents the end of an era. And transitional year coins, especially last year issues, often gain popularity over time. Now here's the condition twist. Because 1989 coins feel modern, most were heavily circulated right away. Few people thought to save pristine examples. So while circulated Showa 64 10 yen coins are common, finding one in superb mint state condition with full original red luster is much more challenging. And once again, condition rarity drives value. If you ever come across a 1989 10 yen that looks unusually bright, sharply struck, and free of contact marks, that's when you slow down. Tilt it under light. Look for cartwheel luster. Examine the temple rooflines and water lines for crisp detail. The difference between a spent vending machine coin and a top-grade certified example can mean a dramatic jump in price. Now here's why pairing 1926 and 1989 in the same conversation is so powerful. They bookend the Showa era. One marks the beginning. One marks the end. Collectors love symmetry like that. And when you combine historical significance with survival rates and condition scarcity, you get hidden value that most people never consider. Imagine inheriting a small envelope of old Japanese coins from a relative who served overseas decades ago. You glance at them quickly and see foreign writing. Nothing stands out. But inside that envelope could be a 1926 Showa 1 silver 10 yen, the first of an emperor's reign, and a 1989 Showa 64 copper 10 yen, the last of that same reign. That's not just pocket change. That's history in your hand. And here's the biggest reason these coins get overlooked: the dates don't look familiar. There's no 1926 or 1989 in bold Western numerals. If you don't understand the Showa calendar system, you miss the story completely. Goodbye, guys.